Right, all right. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Head in the Clouds from us at GoCloud Careers. As always, my name is Chris Johnson, Chief Operating Officer. It might change one day, but as for now, as always, I'm Chris Johnson. But I'm joined by Mike Gibbs, our founder and CEO, Alonzo Coleman, our Chief Marketing Officer. And today we are here to talk about boot camps. We are going to discuss, are boot camps worth it? In particular, are cloud boot camps worth it? We're going to talk about what makes us at GoCloud Careers different than your everyday run-of-the-mill boot camp or training program. We see a lot of people always asking this question in one way, shape, or form or another. People are always asking this question, especially people that are new to this, that are trying to break into the field, so to speak. They're trying to figure out, is this thing that's over here that's $8,000? Is it worth it? What about this thing that's 2,500? Is it worth it? What about this thing that's 16 grand? Is it worth it? They tell me I can get a six-figure job in 16 weeks, and I don't have to pay anything up front. I can pay once I'm hired, and they're going to guarantee that I get a job. Are these things worth it? We're going to discuss what might be the problem with some of these. We're going to be talking about everything. So whether you want to be a cloud engineer, whether you want to be a cloud architect, whether you don't even know the difference between a cloud architect or a cloud engineer, if you want to be a solutions architect, if you want to be a systems engineer, if you want to be a DevOps, something or other. I don't even know the titles anymore. I'm just an operations guy. I'm the business guy. I'll leave the names of the different roles up to Mike. But we're going to be talking about this today. And it's a very important topic that we want to tackle. We want to make sure that everyone understands what it is that we do, how we do it differently, and why we do it differently than everyone else that's out there. Because there's reasons behind all of our madness, I promise. So before we get started, and I'm going to let Mike kind of set the groundwork here. I'm going to ask Mike in a few minutes after I let Alonzo say a few words. I'm going to let Mike tell us why he created this, why we have what we have, what's behind that. And then we're going to get into the conversation. I asked Mike and I asked Alonzo, give me a list. What was the exact words that I used? I said, give me a list. And then Mike sent me a Magna Carta, like a PhD dissertation here. I said, share with me, each of you, a list about things that make our program different from others and why we do it that way. And so, as you can imagine, well, actually, you may not be able to imagine because Alonzo and Mike are so much alike, but they both sent me their lists and they sent them separately. Alonzo's like, can we have a living document so we don't have any overlap? And I'm like, no, I want them separate because I want to see how y'all compare to each other without being tainted by each other. They got two completely separate lists, but both of them are accurate. So after we let Mike tell us the why, the big why, because there's always a why. And if you saw our LinkedIn post on the GoCloud Careers page yesterday from Yvonne explains why a why is so important. You have to have the right why. So we're going to have Mike explain the why behind us. And then we'll get into what Alonzo and Mike had to share. And I might add my thoughts into them because I've got my own list, but I'm going to let their list drive the show. And then, of course, if anybody's got any comments, I see a lot of people that are in our program are in the chat box there. So if anybody wants to throw any comments in there, feel free to. Anybody that might have any questions about us, what we do, or about cloud careers in general, maybe it doesn't have anything to do with us. Maybe you're just curious. What is a cloud engineer? I don't know. Maybe. Just feel free. Put anything and everything in the comments there, and we'll tackle them. So before I let Alonzo say a few words, I do want to tell everybody, we have a free AWS Bootcamp happening next week, completely for free. Now, we've done these in the past. We used to do them quite often, but they are very intensive time, effort, energy. It's a very intensive process. So we've taken taking a step back on how often we do them, but you all asked for them, so we brought one back. We're going to be doing this one a little bit different this time. So, as always, we're going to have a 3-hour session each day here on YouTube. Then, once that is over, we're going to have a behind-the-scenes type session on Zoom, only for people that want to join us on Zoom that might be more comfortable asking questions off mute. Maybe they can't, their questions aren't nuanced enough to put into 200 characters on YouTube. Come to that behind the scenes or after hours Q&A session that we're going to have. We're going to have that. So we're going to have the three hours here on YouTube. And then after that, every day of the boot camp, we're going to have an after hours session on Zoom where you can come and have a more intimate dialogue with us and ask questions in a more class-like environment. So take advantage of it. We're excited about how we're going to be doing this one this time. We always try to make it as classroom-like as possible on YouTube, but this time it's like, well, how much more can we make it like a class? Why don't we just do an hour on Zoom after every day of the boot camp? Sure, let's do that. All right. So we're going to do that for you. And so Tyrone put there under our GoCloud Architects account on the chat box there, you'll see the free AWS Bootcamp sign up. Sign up. It's completely free. Even the after hours Zoom sessions each day are going to be completely free. But so make sure you sign up. Make sure you share this with anybody that might be interested in free training, because there's certain types of training, and I'm sure we're going to talk about this. There's certain types of content, certain type of training that shouldn't be behind a paywall, and this is the type of thing that we believe needs to be accessible to as many people as possible. So take advantage of that. The other thing that I want to tell everybody about, in case you're wondering what we do in our training programs, we have a webinar this Thursday that talks about how to get your first cloud architect job. That's our bread and butter. That's the basis of our program. That's what Mike created from the get-go. And that's what we continue to do, is help people get that first cloud architect job. So if you're interested, sign up for that, completely free. Going to be on Zoom with me, Mike, and Alonzo. Going to be a blast, always a blast. And of course, you can ask us questions there about our training, about your career, about if this is even something that you're interested in. Maybe you ask a couple of questions and you realize, oh, this is not something I'm interested in. We just saved you $2,500. We just saved you $1,000. We just saved you $8,000 because you asked a couple of questions and it's like, oh yeah, no, this is not for me. But then maybe you do realize this is exactly what I need. This is going to help me get exactly where I want to be, and this is going to get me to that goal that I desired for my family and long-term success. So come take advantage of that, completely free for you, to help you. So Alonzo, anything you'd like to share before we let Mike get into the why?
Well, without getting into the why, first, thank you everyone for joining us. I like to be repetitive in that because I really appreciate your time. We do as a collective group. We've seen people, and I personally listened and had conversations with initial people who at first weren't students of ours, but to watch them progress and to see them join us here, I think that they can attest to our subject matter today and what their experiences have been, what they will continue to be, and where we see them in the future. So I'm ready to get started, Chris.
All right. So, Mike, without any further ado, regale us with the story of GoCloud Careers.
Absolutely, Chris. And for all of you out there, I've been very lucky. I had a tech career that I can't even describe. It was the best thing ever. And I retired about 10, 15 years ago. I had the opportunity to retire. I wanted to spend some extra time with my wife and really enjoy life because I used to travel 200,000-300,000 miles a year for work. So I retired from my job. And when I got retired, I found it really exciting to teach people. And I started coaching people. I mean, I was coaching people when I was working, but I started doing it on the side. Next thing I realized, I got a little busier, but it was something I did on the side. And I really was giving people guidance and strategy consulting and helping them architect their career from the behind. And that's really where I wanted to be in my retirement. And about 5 or 6 years ago, I was setting up all these cryptocurrency mining data centers. Between 10 years ago and 5 years ago, I had crypto mining facilities everywhere. And I set up a monster facility in a place called McPherson, Kansas, with some wonderful people that had the cheapest electric rates in the country. So I decided to build a cryptocurrency mining data center. And I brought some of my trained people over here. Well, the people I brought dealt with 3 megawatts of power. They came in with transformers. They came in routers, switches, and firewalls and servers and hundreds of GPU and thousands of these machines. And literally speaking, the people were like, what? And they couldn't believe how people could operate that quickly and how they could grow that quickly. And the owner of the facility that we rented did one thing. He said, Mike, I want my son to be like the rest of these people. You make my son like the rest of these people, your facility is rent-free. Okay, business opportunity time. I was all excited. So I told the kid I bought him I bought the kid 3 AWS training courses, 3 of them. And I said, I'll spend 2 to 4 hours with you every Friday to make sure you understand it, and I'm going to teach you how to get the job. Well, that was on a Friday. On a Wednesday, the kid calls me up and he says, Mike, he said, I've set up S3 buckets, I've set up EC2 instances, I've set up security groups and NACLs. What are they? And I said, what do you mean, what are they? He said, well, I've been clicking the boxes like they told me. One even showed me how to use a CLI, but I don't know what I'm doing. And I went, this can't be. So I watched the courses. Some guys babbling about a cat, some guys teaching people how to click through. And you know what the scariest thing was? And I love cats, by the way. They didn't even describe what the tech was. I mean, 0. And I wasn't sure if I was right. So what I did is I had a lot of name. I went out there. I interviewed 1,000 AWS certified individuals. Many of them had 4 to 6 certifications. At least 25% of them had the AWS Certified Solutions Architect Professional. And I asked them basic cloud computing questions, which is, what is cloud computing? What is a storage area network? What is a virtual machine? Where does the IP subnet begin and end? How do I get my traffic from point A to point B? How do I set up a security militarized zone? How do I enable remote access? What is it about Bastion host that's a security hall? How do I lock a system down? And I never got an answer. From the 1,000 people, not a single one of them knew anything about cloud computing, no matter how many AWS certifications they had. This horrified me. So I said to this fine young man, his name was Nathan, I said, we're going to write a book. We're going to write a book on passing the AWS exams. And I said, and we're going to give it away completely free. And the kid was like, are you crazy? I said, I can't let anybody buy these horrible courses. They're going to spend 3, 6, 9 months, 12 months, 2 years, 5 years. And you know what kind of job they're going to get? Nothing. Because they're not going to have any skills useful for any of these jobs that they want. They'll have skills, they're going to be the incorrect skills. So after I interviewed 1,000 people, guess what? I wrote a book, I gave it away for free. 25,000 copies went immediately. People started saying things and they're like, this helped explain it, but I still need more. And I just hosted a webinar that says, how do you get your first cloud architect job? I hosted it about 3 years ago, and people were asking me to sell them a course before I even had a course. I was just trying to say, go out there, here's how you get hired, here's what you need to learn. Well, guess what? We've done our work. And whether our students are at AWS or at Azure or Google or Apple or Cisco or IBM or KPMG, Accenture, Deloitte, Capgemini, big banks like Barclays Banks or what do you call it? Or JP Morgan Chase, and every other company you can imagine, from Palo Alto Systems, our graduates are there. And here's the thing, our graduates don't get admin jobs. They get solution architect jobs, senior solution architect jobs, cloud architect jobs, and enterprise architect jobs because of what we're teaching them. We're teaching them exactly the job, everything they need to know for the job, and absolutely nothing. And guess what? We do it for less than 3 days' salary for our average graduate, because I didn't need to build a business to make money. I only need to charge enough to be able to have the best people on staff. That's our goal. We run our systems at close to our cost so I can afford to have the best and brightest people. And we're going to get out of me talking about why I started it, but we have 2 PhD business school professors. Our staff that teaches professional development, all of them have at least 1 MBA or better. We have enterprise architects, application architects, big data architects, VPs of tech companies coming in as our faculty. Our faculty has over 250 years experience, and that's why our students do well. Back to you, Chris. Now you know why I started the company.
Yeah, and I think I can't tell you how many times I've heard that story, but something finally struck this individual that, for all intents and purposes, was the proving ground for figuring this out. You said that you bought three of these programs, and they said they didn't know what they were doing. I wonder if it's more accurate that they didn't know why they were doing what they were doing. Like they knew they knew. Okay, I'm doing this. I'm doing that. I'm doing this. But why? Why am I doing this? Why? What is this actually doing? What's the purpose behind all of this?
Well, it was both. It was first, they didn't understand the technology and how it worked. You can't design what you don't understand. But they also didn't understand the why.
Right.
Why would I consider microservices versus a monolith? Why would I consider a software-defined networking WAN versus a SASE WAN versus a VPN versus a direct connection? Why would I use multiple small servers versus one big server? Why is block storage a constraint and a problem, and what do I need to do without it? Why should I not use DynamoDB or Amazon Aurora in a company that needs multi-cloud? Why should I throw away 50% of the certification, take the 50% that's good and not use it? And you know what else? Not only did they not know the why, and they didn't know the systems, only know how to configure them, but the role of an architect is to design a system to solve business problems. And you know what else they didn't know? Business. And how do you fix a business problem if you don't understand business? Hey, Alonzo, I got a project for you. I want to make sure you don't have access to fire, and you don't have access to smoke, and you don't have access to an oven or a microwave. Now I want you to prepare me a steak.
Hey, you didn't say anything about a grill. Well, you said fire.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you said fire. Never mind.
Go cook me something.
All right.
You can't. And that's the key. And it all brought me back when I saw what was out there to when I started my tech career back in 1996. I spent $11,000 for the Cisco Certified Network Professional Bootcamp, $5,000 for an MCSE bootcamp. I had 6 certifications, and I applied, I sent my resume out, and nobody cared. And only when I got a list of what employers wanted, poof, I went on my first interview and I got hired. But they wanted things that were not in certifications. In fact, 80% of what employers want is not covered in a certification. And being an employer and interviewing 6,000 people in my career, coaching people to get them hired, knowing what the employers wanted, I knew what they wanted, and we teach what the employers want. Not what AWS wants you to know, not what Azure wants you to know, not what Google wants you to know, what the employers want so they can hire you. That's the secret to getting hired.
Yeah, and I'm going to get Alonzo to chime in here in just a second, but I'm going to give I'm going to shamelessly promote Yvonne, one of the speakers at our recent conference here, because I'm going to just keep going back to this why for a second. The why. Now, I'm going to share a video from Yvonne that I put on LinkedIn yesterday. He's talking about your personal why. But why, no matter what we're talking about, the why is the most important thing. Whether it's why are you on this journey to getting a career, or why are you considering this tool to solve your company's problem, or why is somebody upset? The why is always the most important thing, and it often gets overlooked. But I just wanted to play this quick video.
Before you do, real quick, before you play that video, this is Yvonne Tambo. He's awesome. He came to us as a college student. He was working as a waiter. He was AWS certified, but he wanted to get a job as a solution architect. So we got him hired. We trained him. 6 months later, he's working for AWS. AWS made him a job offer before he graduated college. And he said to AWS, he says, I graduate college in May, it's December. Any chance you'd wait for me to graduate college because I worked so hard to go to college? AWS waited 6 months for this guy because they loved him so much. No experience in tech and no degrees in tech at the time. That's normal for us. Play the video, Chris.
Yeah. And he understood the importance of why.
Yes,
so here's a supercut of what he had to share at our conference a couple of weeks ago in Orlando.
And I think it's the most important because the why is what separates champions from average people. Because if you have a strong why, right, you can do anything. If you have a strong why, you can work more hours. If you have a strong why, I think you can outwork someone who has a strong why. Because if my why to get something is because I want, let's say, a piece of cake, it's different from someone who is doing something because his why is to be able to feed 100 people, or to be able to maintain or to send his kid to school. A piece of cake is nothing. That why is not strong enough for you to go above and beyond.
And that's the importance of a why. Again, he's talking from a personal standpoint. If you've got a strong enough why, you can accomplish whatever it is you desire to do. And if you have a solid understanding of why a customer or a client is interested in a particular thing, then you can solve their problem. But if you don't understand their why, the likelihood of being able to address the problem that they need addressed is pretty slim.
You know, Chris, I'd like to touch this for a second. That why matters. Here's my why. I love it when someone says, Mike, I got hired. I love it. Alonzo will tell you it brings tears to my eyes. Chris will tell you it brings tears to my eyes each time. And you'd think after every day, but I grew up poor. I grew up struggling. I worked 3 jobs just to go to college. And I don't want anybody to live like that. That's my why. It's not the why of I used to be poor and I made a course to help you because nobody will hire me, but I got to make some money somehow. It's not the why where people that have courses on Udemy send us messages almost every month and say, I can't get hired, but I have an AWS course. Will you get me hired? I'm like, no, please take your AWS course down. You're hurting people every single day because you don't know what we do, and everything you do is tarnishing others. You take that down, you get your why fixed, and then I'll help you. But it's all about helping others. It's not about how much money I can make on a course. Look, we could make a course easy. We could charge 10 times more for our course, pack that course by running a ton of ads, reaching out to my friends at Cisco and AWS and Microsoft and Google and saying, here, give me a funnel of people. That's not what we do. We basically charge our costs, and what enables us to hire the best people. And we have a rule. When you join us, you stay with us until you're hired. This is not a boot camp. And actually, let me talk about this. It is unreasonable for anybody to tell you 16 weeks from now, I'm going to get you a $100,000 job. Anybody
it's unreasonable for to say 6 months from now.
Yeah.
In my opinion, like
it is. Now, I'll tell you that our average student gets a good job over 6 figures in 6 to 12 months, but life happens. We all learn differently. And that's why when people take our course, they are in our course until they are hired. And, you know, that's actually there. And that matters so much to me, that everybody is on a different time frame. Everybody is on a different journey. Some people come to me from healthcare. Some people come to me that have been cloud engineers for 15 years and need to be trained to be architects. Some people like Lohit, who's in this group, are such incredibly good software developers that he's so good. And Lohit helps teach in our program. And I got to tell you, Lohit is amazing in every way stretch of the word. He was a software developer forever. And now after our program, he's an application architect at AWS. He took our leadership, he took our executive, he took all that architect stuff and tied it to something he's incredible in. When Lohit comes and talks about microservices or serverless architectures or any of that, he's a rock star. But he also works at AWS. And they hired him, but he had it. But that's the key. Having someone like a Lohit brings real skill. And it changes everything. Or Angelo with his 20 years of experience. Or Alvin, who was my mentor 25 years ago, who's a VP over at NVIDIA. Or Andrea, who was my manager 20-some years ago, bringing her. But that's why we do it. And that's really the key. It's got to be relevant. It's got to be the right education. And it has to teach you the skills that you need for your job, not someone else's. And that's the key.
All right. So I'm going to get Alonzo in here. Alonzo. So Mike told us the why behind like how we got started. All right. So why don't you tell me, and this is a curveball because you didn't know I was going to ask questions. You thought I was just going to go by the list you guys gave me, but I'm going to ask questions too. Why don't you tell me your why? What's your why? Like what drives you behind what drives you to make GoCloud Careers what it is?
I like to inspire people. I like to talk to people. I like to solve problems. I like to uplift people to help them realize their potential. What better way to do that in an environment where I love the cloud? I love being able to market this organization. I love being able to push it to great heights with the partnership of you and Mike. So think about it this way, Chris, and this is just one out of many. When someone schedules a meeting with me, one of the things that inspires me is that they don't realize that they're speaking to the leadership. They would probably assume there's a nameless face of someone who may not even have any allegiance or any vesture in the organization, but they say, "Wow, I feel honored. I feel this. I feel that." But in reality, I feel honored that they feel like we're adding value before I'm even able to share what we can do for their career and their future. So that gets me charged up. That gets me hyped, and I love being able to just express not only what we can do for them, but what it's done for me, because I went through the program. And you don't really see a lot of people who actually go through a program, go out in the world, come back and give back to what was given to them. And I happily do it because I know where they can go. I know what their future is going to look like, what their family's future is going to look like, what the possibilities are for them. Case in point, you think about Ivan Tamba, and he shared with us his beginnings of making $8.02 a day in another country, lifting and moving heavy objects from one place to another. Now he's probably making at least $16,000 per month. Do you see what that can do to someone's future, to someone's trajectory, not only for them, but their kids, their family, their village, their location, wherever they came from, and what they can do to help uplift others? They've shown through their determination and, more importantly, their why of what is possible out in this world. And when I'm able to successfully, with you and Chris and Chow and Leo and Tyrone and our excellent staff, how we can help them get there, good. I mean, it is just, you can't put a price on that. You can't quantify that in any way, shape, or form when you're helping someone to change their life, their outlook on where they've been, how things were probably in a hopeless state. They didn't know where to go. They didn't know how to change anything. But with the community, with what is being built, what has happened, what Mike has created at GoCloud Careers, I think there's plenty of why for me to have. So I'm going to stop right there, but I got plenty more to go around, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions when the time comes.
So I had a random thought the other day, and it's not completely random. I actually had the thought periodically. And I mainly had the thought periodically because Mike like redlines himself every once in a while. And Alonzo and I are just like, okay, Mike. Like that old school Geico commercial with the camel running around. Hey, Mike. Yeah, we're like, stop, Mike, stop. But I had the random thought, and I'm like, And I wonder, I'm like, what if Mike wasn't here anymore? What would happen to GoCloud Careers? And immediately I'm just like, nothing would happen. It would keep going just as strong as ever because of people like you and Angelo and Lohit and Praveen and Chow and Eddie and Dr. Johnson and Dr. Long. Like, Mike has created something here that is grown beyond Mike. Like we all. I'm not trying to say that Mike is replaceable.
No.
What I'm saying is that Mike has created something that has become bigger than himself.
Yeah.
And I'm going to rewind this a little bit because, and many of you probably know the story, I met Mike through a colleague of mine who was like, look, you got to check this guy out. You know, I was in the hotel business and I did hotel development and new hotel openings and constructions, and the pandemic killed all that. And it was a good opportunity for me to say, hey, all right, let me go check out some other things that aren't as exhausting as the hotel industry, because the hotel industry is exhausting. So let me go check some of things out. And long story short, I got to Mike, and me and this colleague, many of you old school people might remember David. Me and David and Mike met up in person. David's from Connecticut. I'm from St. Petersburg. Mike's in Port St. Lucie, Florida. I get David down here by dangling, come to Universal Studios. Well, we can go to here. And so, but we take a side venture to go meet Mike, and me and David, we are basically like, okay, we got to have an intervention with this guy because he has no clue what he has. Yeah. Like, he doesn't realize what he has gotten himself into. And we're meeting with Mike, and at this time, I think there might have been 20 people, maybe, that had enrolled in his program. And what Mike doesn't tell you is that people enrolled in his program while he was creating the program, because the need of it was like people came across him and they were so refreshed by what, like they were aghast, like, oh my God, the truth. Oh my God, the truth is out there. And but anyway, so we met him, and I just point blank asked Mike, I said, Mike, what are you going to do when you get to 50 people? And this is when he's at 20, so 50 is not inconsiderable. And Mike's like, I'm not going to get to 50. And I'm like, Mike. And I'm pretty sure by the time I got home, we were at 50. But, you know, it's, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but do you agree with me, Mike, that it's grown beyond anything that you could have ever
thought? Really did. My point was, I'm retired. I just want to help a bunch of small number of people that came, that wanted help. I ran some free webinars. I'm going to help them. I did not know that a month later, we'd have close to 100, or 2 months later, and we'd have thousands of people in every country in the world and people working everywhere else. You know, it's funny. You know, Chris won't talk about it, but both Chris and David went to a boot camp before they came to us. They both.
I'm going to talk about it. That's there's lots of my why tied up into that.
But they both spent an inordinate amount of money, upwards of 10 times what our program cost. And we got David a job after our program, and Chris could have easily found something, but I hired him and I needed him. And you know, we need Chris because Alonzo and I, we literally could be twin brothers. I mean, you have no idea. When I spoke to Alonzo's wife one day, I was listening to her and I almost called her Love, which is what I call my wife, because I was like, oh my God, this is my wife. Oh, wait, no, she's not. And I'm like, this is Lisa. No, it's not. And whether it was Lisa or Teresa, go figure, their names even sound like the same in the end. I didn't even know who I was talking to. And we need Chris to keep the Alonzo and I on track. We're going to go up in every direction like a cat.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, since Mike brought that up, let's get to so now I'd like us to talk about some of the things that we do and why we do them. And I'm going to start it off because, okay. So Mike shared. Yeah, I did a boot camp because when I was making that transition out of the hospitality industry, I'm like, look, for the past more than a decade, I've been redlining. Hotels is 24/7, nonstop, like 80 hours, 90 hours a week, every week, like just taking phone calls at 3 o'clock in the morning, being at work at 7 o'clock, and leaving when the sun's going down, and cleaning rooms when you have to clean rooms, and checking people in when you got to check people in, and kissing babies when you got to kiss babies. It's all of it. And so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do a desk job. I'm looking around. I'm like, all right, data. Data science, data engineer. That sounds like something I could do at a desk, and I don't have to go run around like a chicken with my head cut off. So I decided to do the boot camp. And that experience, the people that I did the boot camp with, some of the best people, some of my best friends in the world now came from that experience. I went to one of their weddings. I'd never met the person in real life until their wedding. So, but I went to their wedding out in California, but yeah, I did the boot camp. But the boot camp itself is one of the driving factors behind the way that we do things. One of the things that you will see out there is what's called income sharing agreements. And when you see that, from my personal perspective, that is a red flag. What an income sharing agreement is it is modern day indentured work. I had to think about that. I had to think of that modern day indentured work. You can go Google what indentured work is. There's another word that I'm not going to use because I don't want to say that word, but indentured work. And I mean, you enter into it voluntarily, of course. So, whatever. But you commit to 10% or whatever percentage of your earnings after you get hired. You don't have to pay anything up front. So there's this, let's say $15,000 course. You do the income sharing agreement, it's going to end up costing you $24,000. And you're obligated to do whatever they say to do whatever job they're able to get you. You're not in a position to be able to turn a job down. If you turn down a job, then you immediately have to start paying back. Well, okay. So I turned down the $45,000 a year job because I can't live off a $45,000 a year job. Now I have to pay you back. Okay. So that is one of the driving factors behind the way that we do our program. Our program arguably should be that price. But we don't want to price people out. We don't want to put people in situations that are detrimental to them.
Yeah.
Even the slightest. And in the same vein, that's why we don't do 16 weeks and you're out.
Yep.
24 weeks and you're out. Oh, you didn't finish it in the time frame that you were supposed to? You have to pay all over again to continue access to the thing that you already had access to. What? A lot of you probably see me and I'm always happy-go-lucky and I'm always happy and smiley, but these are the types of things that make me unhappy. And so we purposely choose to do things. You enroll in our program, you got access forever. Boom, done. End of story. Why should we even? What's the purpose of charging you again? You haven't gotten your job. Why should we charge you? What? No.
It's because the job's not done.
Right, exactly. The job's not done. month, so you should pay me more. What? That doesn't make sense. Like, I don't understand this. This does not compute. Yes, you enrolled in my program. I said that it should take you X amount of time. You weren't successful in X amount of time, so you should pay me again.
I got a letter from one of our people. It was the company that did their boot camp. And they were asking me, is the person employed yet? And it was because he was in an income sharing agreement. He had previously paid an embarrassing amount of money to these people. There's a video of him being successful, but I'm not going to talk about the name of the school. It's just not appropriate. Anyway, they're bombarding me with emails. Is he employed? Is he employed? And I responded, I said, no, he's not employed. He's being retrained. He's one of the finest young men I've met in a long time. He attended a school that was supposed to give him a job, and they taught him absolutely nothing. He should sue the school. He should go out there and go to the internet and talk about his horrible experience. But no, we're retraining him. Thank you very much. He's not working. They didn't even respond to it and say, what do you mean he didn't get a good? I mean, they didn't even care. It was, we took your money. I used to be poor, but now all of a sudden I know how to be rich and come with me. That was one of those boot camps he went to. It upset me to no end. It still horrifies me. But we should get back to what we do differently and why our people are getting hired.
Yeah, that's definitely a topic.
So in spite of that, it's here, pay us once. You're good. You got it all forever. Until you're hired. Work with us till you're hired. Please work with us till you're hired.
Yeah, I agree. It's there's no way. It's kind of like when people are on these boot camps, how are you going to cram a career's worth of knowledge into a set amount of time? How is this possible? How are you going to do a gap analysis to figure out what you know versus what you need to be and do to be a competent person, unless you have that consistent support in an environment where you're able to thrive, get the knowledge and the competency that you need? Some of those boot camps are a lot like a roller coaster ride at Universal Studios. They throw you in the car. You go and have your ups and downs and your excitement at the end of the ride. You got to get off and you got to wait for someone else. Did you get what you were looking for? Did you get what you need? Were you successful? They don't care because they move you on and they want to fill in the cars for the next ride.
What happens if he gets sick?
What if you need to take a leave of absence because your parents need you or life gets in the way? You know, the more we plan, the more life plans us. What did you say, Mike?
What if you're struggling with something and it takes you 2 months to figure out a fundamental concept? And without that fundamental concept, you can't move forward. Life happens. You know, I did 2 MBAs because I loved school. Let me tell you, there was an advanced statistical analysis class. I took that one twice because my brain doesn't like math. But you know what? I took it twice. So what? Yeah. I did 2 MBAs, another master's degree, part of a doctorate. I love school. I took it twice. But I think the real key is, let's start. One of the things that's different. Let's be that we do different and why our people get hired. Let's start with the curriculum. Someone that worked at Linux Academy has no idea what a cloud architect does unless they've been a cloud architect before. Someone that works in the AWS certification training department that's been an AWS authorized instructor that's never had a job at anything other than instructor doesn't know how to design a curriculum. AWS does, but that person doesn't. They're told, go design this. Someone that's never worked in an industry doesn't know, because what I learned a long time ago is the job and a certification may have 5 to 10% in common, and the other 90% or more has nothing to do with the certification. So your curriculum needs to be based upon not what I want. I modify our curriculum all the time with our team. What the hiring managers demand. I've asked thousands, and I mean thousands of hiring managers, HR people, tech recruiters, C-level suites, VPs of HR, what do you want in the perfect cloud architect? That's what we teach. You know what the last thing any of them ever says to us? Is certification. They tell us, Mike, I want someone that can work in a team. I want someone that can lead. I want someone that can sell. I want someone that raises the energy on my team. I want someone I can trust. I want someone that I can work with customers, that can get at the heart of the customer's problems, that can solve the customer's problem. I want it all. I'm like, okay. So you have to teach what they want. We have a different curriculum for everything else. We have a cloud architect program right now. We got the number one.
Let's talk about, I'm sorry to interrupt you. We have a what?
A cloud architect program.
Just cloud architect.
Yes, and but let me finish my sentence.
That's all. So you're not trying to train
another
15
architect program. We have another architect program coming in very soon for a different kind of architect. But I'm going to tell you this.
But you're not training another role in the cloud architect program.
You can't. Because a cloud architect and an enterprise architect job is completely different.
Oh no, I'm talking about a DevOps. You're not trying to do DevOps engineer.
A cloud engineer and a SysOps engineer is completely different. And if you try to learn all three, you know what's going to happen? You're going to be a disaster at all three unless you're willing to spend 50 years. Because they're so different. I promise you, if you go to school to be a doctor, you'll have no idea how to be a nurse. I promise you. I've done both. You'll have no idea. And if you go to school to be a nurse, you'll have no idea how to be a pharmacist or a physical therapist because they're different careers. An architect does architecture. They design solutions to improve customers' business performance. They don't implement, they don't deploy, they don't code, they don't configure. So what are they doing? They're selling, they're managing stakeholders, they're obtaining business requirements, they're building business architectures, they're managing stakeholders, they're negotiating deals, they're presenting at conferences, and many more things that we do. Now that DevOps engineer is going to be automating CI/CD cycles. They are going to code. They're going to be working with DevOps tools. Wait, design, present, sell, lead, code. And then what do the SysOps people do? They're the maintenance people. Maintain, add users, remove users, patch. Now, an architect will never patch. And there's programs that are like, here, in 9 months, you can do it all. Well, guess what? If you try to do it all in 9 months, I promise you, you will fail. We retrain all those people students do. Why? Because the person having it never had the job in the first place. They make AWS courses. And after we pointed out that none of the people were getting hired, now we got a program to teach you every possible cloud career in the same program. No.
Yeah, I simply just cannot fathom even trying to market something. And Alonzo, you're a marketing guy. I can't fathom trying to market. Do this for this job, and this job, all in the same program. Like,
yeah, that's called.
I couldn't fathom it. Like,
there's no way to say that I'm a submarine pilot and I'm also an airplane pilot and I'm also a cruise ship captain, and you can do all of this. It's kind of like, it reminds me of those Sally Struthers fly-by-night certifications, where somehow you're going to be able to work nights, do 2 weeks of training, and then you're going to get this phenomenal 6-figure job where you're going to combine the architectural and cloud engineering skill set and somehow create an amalgamation of the two to command $600,000 per minute to do these things. That's not realistic.
It's crazy.
Now, what I could grasp is if there was something that said, "Hey, here's this thing that could be applicable to multiple roles." Let's say like a soft skill that could help you in this role, and this role, and this role. I can wrap my head around that. But trying to say learning CI/CD and Terraform scripting and all this is going to help you be a architect or a customer success manager. It's like, what? Like,
you bring up a really good point as well. A lot of people feel that cloud architects should learn how to code. If that's the case, what are cloud engineers, developers, and programmers supposed to do? Why would you need look at it from a Venn diagram? Why would you need a triple focus on a job requirement? So if that's the case, why are we not focused on business transformative solutions? Why are we not building relationships with these customers? Why are we not understanding what their needs are, KPIs, what their goals are, what's been their hindrances, who's in charge of this stuff and why, and so on and so forth, if we're focused on Terraform code, if we're focused on Python and so forth.
And actually, and I'm going to go to this and then we'll move to the new topic. In class today, one of my very intelligent students asked a question. And he said, so wait a second. We now need to speak to the executives to determine the vision for the company in the future. Then we need to learn their business problems. Then after that, we got to map out all their business processes, develop an org chart, figure out the organization's value streams or how they make money, figuring out where their pain points are, and talk to everybody across the company. Now we got to go work with these executives to go design a new business process and a new business architecture. Then we have to examine how they use information and how that pertains and figure that out. Now we got to help them create a new information architecture, how they can use data to improve their business performance. Now we got to go figure out what all their tech is, what's working, what's not working, what's documented, what's not documented, and go design a new technical solution based upon fixing the business problems that you identified and the vision for the company. Now we got to go manage a bunch of stakeholders across the enterprise, get their buy-in and support. Now we got to help build an implementation plan and a statement of work. They're like, how many architects could this take? I said, I've been in companies that have 100 architects doing this.
Right,
I said,
exactly.
you know why there's no way we can touch the technology? Now,
Right.
where people go wrong is the engineers think the architects are idiots. And I'm going to tell you why. The engineers know the tech, and they are the best tech people in the world. I love engineers.
Yep.
The architects are focused on the business and the tech, but mostly the business.
And they
So
don't know how to do what the engineer does.
And they don't have any idea how to do what the engineers do because it's a different job.
Right.
And, you know, my family owned a restaurant. We're Greek. You know, lots of Greek people own restaurants. You know, the first shift thought the second shift was lazy. The second shift thought the first shift was lazy. And the people that worked overnight thought all the day people were lazy. The cooks thought the dishwashers had it easy. The dishwashers thought the cook didn't do anything. And that's the thing. People don't know what everybody's job is. Yep. That's why I make the architecture courses, or I design them, because I've been an architect now for 25 years. I know what an architect is. No, you don't see me teaching DevOps. There's a reason for it. I don't know DevOps. I've never worked as a DevOps engineer, and I would never produce a course like our competition does. Here I got a certification. Woohoo, I don't know anything, but I got a course for you. And they do that because it's easy. It's very easy to make a course for 15 bucks, put it on Udemy, spend a couple hours and never talk to anybody, never answer anybody's questions, never help them get anywhere. And when they can't get hired, you mute their notifications like they did to Alonzo. That's easy. That's easy. Open up a channel, tell people there's a bunch of people. And when the person like Alonzo takes the course and messages the course creator and says, I can't get hired. First he says his recruiters go find him. And when the person says, I still can't get hired, and he paused and blocked his notifications. That's not there. So you have to know the career you're building. Now let's talk about the rest of it. What's the curriculum have to be? It has to match the career. So if an architect designs a solution, they have to understand system design. If an architect has to communicate to executives, they must have executive presence and executive communication skills. If an architect gives presentations 3 times a week, they have to have presentation skills. Guess what? Do you know how you get hired on the interview? You have to give a presentation. That's the last interview. If you've been trained in tech and not presentation skills, you're not getting hired. If you've got to negotiate a deal and you don't have negotiation skills, you're getting fired and you're not going to be hired in the first place. If you have to manage a group of stakeholders and you don't know how to manage people or don't have leadership skills, you can't be hired. And that's why we teach all of it. And guess what? If you don't know how to make a resume and you don't know how to make a LinkedIn profile and you don't have a brand and it's your first tech job and you've got no experience, again, you're still not getting hired. So we'll tell you what we do and why we do it soon. But understand, if you're an architect, you have to learn that, and we teach it. Now, why do most people not do that? Most people are not willing to hire $250,000 instructors. They're not. Doesn't fit very neatly in their high profit business model of delivering nothing and charging a fortune. We have 3 MBAs. We have a person with a law degree, 2 PhDs. And I got to tell you, that's only some of our staff. Everybody's educated. Everybody's had a career, a major career, or done something big. Our business school professors have 75 years teaching experience, but they were also, one was a CEO too. Another was a strategy consultant. Alonzo's got 30 years of business. Chris has got 15 years of leadership. I've got 25 years of every architect position you can manage or leadership position. That's why we do it. You want to go back, either Chris or you want to comment? And then I'll talk about the secret weapon of getting people hired, which is why we do what we do and why our results are so different.
Well, let's just go ahead and talk about the secret weapon and then talk about whatever comes after.
Yeah.
Here's the secret weapon. When you are new, you can't compete with somebody who's experienced. So how do you get hired? Why do we do what we do? Why are we the only people doing this? It's for this reason. So I've got two people. I got Alonzo, who's got 30 years experience, and I got Billy Bob, who just got done school. Why would I potentially hire Billy Bob straight out of school when I've got Alonzo? Now you need to see. So here's the secret. I made a new YouTube video for you on this too, but I want you to get it. When it comes to getting your new job, it's not just about your tech skills. It's not just about your competency. So I want you to think about this. If I'm an employer, I must know that you can do the job. I have to. Can't do the job, I can't hire you. I'm not going to hire you and train you on the job. It's just not going to happen. I'll give you some training, but not the whole career. But if I like you, I'm much more likely to hire you. If I think you're smart, educated, and learn quickly, I'm really willing to hire you. If I think you're willing to work hard, I am willing to hire you because it's very hard to find a hard worker in today's world. If you can get along with others and bring out the best in others, whoa, I need you on my team. If you can communicate with empathy and emotional intelligence and promote team harmony and raise the energy from everybody else, oh, I need you. Oh, this is how I get to be a perfect person. Now, I want you to think about this. Let's say I've got a job for a senior solution architect. Al Legister, one of our students, just got one. Al was a good architect. Al had great sales skills, an incredible personality, one of the most likable people I've ever met in my entire life. He had good leadership skills, good emotional intelligence, and good business acumen. You know what? Let's break the interview down into a game. Here's the cheat code. The game is you can score a perfect 100 on the interview. 50% is your technical competency. That's what other people teach, although they do a bad job of it. And 50% is your emotional intelligence, your energy, your enthusiasm, your passion, your communication skills, your leadership skills, whether you're trustworthy, honorable, etc. If all you have is tech, the best you can do is 50 out of 50. I mean, 50 out of 100. Guess what? That's still an F. If you can really maximize your soft skills, your business acumen, your communication skills, your presentation, your interview skills, your likability factor, you can get a 50 out of 50 out of that. Now you get 50 out of 50 of that and 35 out of 50 on your technical competency, you're now at an 85 and 100. If Alonzo's only a techie, he's not, or he wouldn't be working with me. He has it all because I don't only hire techies. But if Alonzo is a 50 out of 50 as a techie only, and now I got a newbie, Billy Bob, who's 35 out of 50 on tech and 50 out of 50 on everything else, I've got an 85% score with with Billy Bob, and a 50% score with Alonzo, I'm hiring Billy Bob. And how good do you have to be to sell yourself a job when you have no experience? Did you see Yvonne present over there? Did you see him? Yvonne is 25 years old. Did you see Daniel Bosa when he was on our show? 20 years old, didn't graduate high school, hired by JP Morgan Chase. Did you see Delroy Batt? This young man who I like so much, he comes to visit me in Florida and I train him in all kinds of cool stuff that's totally outside of cloud computing. Have you seen all of our people? We have dedicated experts that teach these professional skills. It's those professional skills that are the hardest to learn, they take the longest to learn, and they're the most expensive skills to learn. How expensive? I'll put it into context for you. I have an over $300,000 education. That's how much it taught to learn them. I did 1 3/4 MBAs, a master's degree in healthcare, and I still took about $100,000 of leadership training, which thankfully Cisco paid for when I was done, to be able to learn these skills. That's what it took. These are expensive skills to learn. Lonzo, what'd you pay for your MBA?
100,000 plus. And I say that strongly.
And that's just the MBA, let alone your undergraduate degree, right?
Well, when you want to combine those two, we're looking at closer like 150, 175,000.
Okay. And that's the key. These are expensive skills to learn. I have an and Chris has an
I want to
MBA,
point out why Mike didn't ask me. I got my employer to pay for my master's degree, so
you got the family discount.
No, I got my no. The employer paid for my master's degree.
The whole thing.
That's what you got to do. You got to find you an employer that's going to pay for your education.
True.
And
Very true.
And many of our students have good employer sponsoring for their degrees, which is why I say when someone says, should I do a degree first or do this? I'm like, get hired and let them pay for it. But definitely finish your degree. So,
and same with certificates. I can't tell you how many people from our program have gotten hired without certificates, and then they get paid to get these certificates.
Yeah.
Because it looks good for the employer to go to their customers and say, hey, we got this many people certified, blah, blah, blah. So the employers will pay for your certificates all day long. All day long. They'll hire you without them and pay for them.
How many people have we gotten hired by AWS or Azure or Google that when they get there, they start getting a ton of certificates? Right. Because the company wants to say.
And even at the consulting companies.
And consulting companies too.
Yeah. They churn out the money for these certificates. But it proves that you don't need them to get the job.
No,
sorry
you don't need them.
Digress. You were asking about our master's degrees, but I'll let you get back.
And that's the point. It costs money to learn these skills. The average person can't teach them. It matters. It also matters that you can meet people where they're at. We speak English, French, Spanish, Greek, Portuguese, Vietnamese, and Japanese in this company. You know where our students come from? All over. And I promise you, sometimes it's better to be able to speak another language when you need it. And this is really the key to me. You cannot build a tech career on tech stuff alone. You can't. You just can't. And look, 25 years ago, when I started, there were people that were good at tech, that were so good they'd forget to shower, and you'd hide them in a basement and you'd bring food down for them. They wouldn't even shower. But, when those days worked, I want you to know how good the people had to be. There were computers that had megabytes of RAM and a 10 megahertz CPU and maybe 64K of RAM in certain circumstances. Now, those people that were writing code, that was clean code. When we had to do stuff on the network and the routers could push 1.5 megs through the routers, and that was it, we had to get real creative, prioritizing the traffic. When we had to build routers and routing tables, when routers could only hold a couple hundred routes and the routing tables where they would crash and reboot and run out of memory, we had to be experts at route summarization. But that's really the key. That. And I really want you to remember that. So the secret sauce of what we do is the following. We start with what the employer wants and then work backwards. Do you know how you design an architecture? You don't say, oh, microservices and serverless are exciting. Let me stick them in here. If you do that, your replacement will thank you for the good job. You'll be walked out. If you're lucky, you'll get a severance package and someone will replace you. The solution you design is to go solve a customer's problem. You have to solve it. So you find what their business needs are and you work backwards. Then you figure out what kinds of technology and then you figure out whose technology. Amazon's technology, Cisco's technology, NVIDIA's technology, Palo Alto's technology. You work backwards. Secret sauce of getting an architect job is being an architect, knowing what an architect is, speaking to hiring managers all over the world and what you want, and then working backwards and designing the perfect program based upon what people tell you. And Chris, how often do we speak with a director or a VP of HR or a CIO because one of our students turns down a job and they want to know who else can take the job?
Yeah.
And they do that for the following reason. A director over at AWS came to one of our classes and talked about why he loved our program. It all came down to the same thing. They always say, look, everybody else is teaching people how to build stuff, which is good, but I need people to design stuff. I need people that can sell. I need people that can manage stakeholders. I need people that can lead. I need people that can exercise influence. It's great if they know how to build it, but they're not going to do that in their job anyway. I need this. You produce this. That's the reason.
The new trend that I'm starting to get is former students. I don't like that word. They're not former students. Working students. Successful students. Let's go with that term. are now coming to me. I'll use Jordan Kidio as an example. He's working at AWS, and he's going to be speaking at our conference in April. And he was like, okay, I'm trying to come up with a topic. I want to talk about the soft skills that you need to be an architect. and that's what everybody wants to talk about. Like they're telling me like I want to come talk to the class about things that they really need to know. And I'm like, what is it? It's what Mike says. And I get it. Nobody wants to hear it from Mike, but they'll hear it from somebody that, but it makes sense. They'll hear like when they hear it from someone that was in their shoes and that's out there doing the job now. Like, the funny part, and I've got a clip of this from the conference that I'll be sharing eventually at some point. Jermaine Houghton, who is an enterprise architect, he skipped the whole cloud thing. He made a comment during his presentation at our conference about, yeah, I remember when I used to log into class and Mike would be like, today we're going to talk about soft skills. And I'd be like, God, I don't want to do any more soft skills. I want to do tech. I want to do tech. And now I'm in work and I'm like, dang, all this soft skills stuff is paying off. But it's just funny. So at the same time that I'm talking with people about what they're looking for in the role, they're telling me the same thing that students that are out there working in the architect role are saying they want to come back and tell the other students. They're all saying the same thing. And it's funny.
Remember,
like, nobody wants to listen to the parents. They'll listen to the older brother or the older sister all day long, but they won't listen to the parents. Just like they won't listen to the teachers.
Chris, remember when the principal architect at Microsoft called us and said, we'd like to really build an architect certification. We know architects don't touch the technology, so let's kind of come up with an architect certification of what people actually do in their job. I was like,
yeah, you mean the guy that was a principal software architect who arguably would be more technical than most?
Do you remember what he said to you? Do you remember the one comment that he said?
I don't remember. That was so long.
He said the one thing we can say in common about our architects is we never touch the technology.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, Lohit over here, who's an application architect, he says, I could say from my personal experience after becoming an architect, this is a guy that did software, my coding has drastically reduced by 90%, which, I mean, makes sense. He's still doing a little bit. He's an application architect. I can understand there being some there. And
truth be told, if Lohit didn't want to do 10% of it, he didn't have to. There's plenty of people that could do it for him, but, Lohit's so good that it's second nature. So it might be just as easy for him to do it as it is to email like I would somebody else to actually do it.
Right.
Now,
right.
Give me a BGP thing.
Yeah. It's that. Yeah. So I want to talk. So you were talking about the secret sauce and everything. And I think you said this earlier, and I think it's worth repeating, and we say it periodically, but I really like the phrase that we use, that is, with all the training that you need and none that you don't. And, we've been talking about our architect program. So let's go back to the question about our Cloud Bootcamps worth it. If the boot camp or the training program is developed properly by people who have the expertise and the understanding of the role, and it's designed specifically for that role based off of what the people hiring for that role desire, then possibly. But
there's a lot that can go into that. Definitely.
There's a lot that is necessary to make that unicorn.
And it is, and it needs, there's still a qualification. For example, there's a boot camp over in India. One of our students, his first name was Richard. He went and did a master's degree from some university in cloud computing. They taught him nothing related to architecture. We retrained him and gave him trained him for cloud architect, to be a cloud architect. He got hired. The boot camp in India has him teaching in that boot camp before he even got his first job. Just because he took our course and then we were so good. But the point is, there's what you do when you're ready to get hired and where you're going to be at 2 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and 20 years from now. And the reason it takes 10,000 hours of experience in just one thing, like BGP, to become an expert is it takes 5 years full-time on just one thing. One little tiny thing. That's what being an expert is. Coincidentally, when you get a PhD or a dissertation, it's 7 years researching one thing. It's not on cloud computing. It might be literally on metadata and object storage for the next 7 years. That's an expert. And that's why we pull from so many experts. And that's what I did throughout my career. I was an expert.
So there's a part that I want to ask Alonso about here. So there's another secret sauce that we've got here.
Yep.
And I think it's number 2 on your list, Alonso. If you
Okay.
got your list, do you have your list pulled up, or do I need to lead you here?
I'm right here with it.
Yeah. What? Tell us about that aspect. And this is an incidental aspect, I think, that none of us realized was gonna. I didn't realize it was gonna turn into what it's turned into. But
It was an X factor, definitely.
Yeah, tell us about this X factor that
Okay.
makes this arguably better than it ever could have been.
And this is something that I can personally say. I won't say who I went to for training years ago, but their community, I'll start with ours first.
Yeah.
And
let's just talk about ours.
Let's focus on ours. Our training, we have an excellent, phenomenal community. And it's a community of cloud-focused, like-minded citizens. Okay. And I use the term citizens is because everyone is interacting, building, focusing, supporting each other for a common goal of becoming a cloud architect. No one is clamoring, usurping, putting your foot on the backs of others to reach a goal. Everyone is coming together. And what does that look like? They're meeting in their respective locations to talk about the cloud, coordinate how they're going to get there, because they may be focused on networking architecture or being a cloud networking architect. What does that look like? How can we help each other? They're meeting for dinner. They're showing their picks. Even if they're nowhere near each other, they could be in Singapore, the other person can be in Seattle, but they resonate with each other. They want to help each other. They have like-minded goals, like-minded backgrounds. Everyone comes together in this social experiment that we have that no one ever could have thought possible, and everyone is helping each other. Everyone, because they know that it's not about where they're going singularly. They understand that if we want to go far, we have to go together, and we build upon that and we strengthen that. We inject that in our development course. We inject that in our architectural program, our on-demand content, our social content, soft skills, emotional intelligence, because like any organization, the assumption is there's some totem cloud architect that speaks for the entire organization. That's not true. There are teams of architects focusing on specific types and facets of the organization. How does that look? How can I build relationships with these people? How can I build relationships with the engineers that are going to help me build that? It takes a team. It takes a village. And we started right here. And we never intended it, honestly, for it to happen. But because of who we are and how we're able to form these business relationships, these relationships as architects to help build people up, build up where they are. And it doesn't matter if you have confidence or not. We all chime in, chip in to lift everyone up. If you're having a bad day, you may not have your family, you may not have friends, come see us, because that's where we are. That's how we build each other up. There are times where our alumni have shared some really strong life experiences that you think about, how could I have gotten through that? What could I have done if someone that I know was experiencing that while I'm trying to be a better provider for my family? Come see us. There are so many examples. I can share them. Our alumni can, even our current students, they all pitch in together to pour in their emotional energy, their emotional intelligence to say, if I can get through this, you can. And if you don't know how, let's do it together. And that is one of the fundamental things that set us apart from anyone out there, as opposed to what I saw before. Everyone was using what you have to use that to get ahead and not bring you along. I don't see that here. I've never seen it anywhere else. And that's a part of our secret sauce as well.
Yeah, and you know, it's that that group, that community, and it's among the people, it's among the staff. Look, Collins came and visited me via the way of Nigeria into my house in Florida one day. I cooked him up some steaks. Delroy Batt, who he got his first cloud security job and cloud security architect job, comes and visits me in Florida. Douglas has come to stay at my home, and we had a Jamaican student that was giving a really good presentation. I guess it was about 2 months ago. And I don't know, something about that presentation, all I was thinking was Bob Marley and oxtail soup. And I said, anybody else want oxtail soup? And one of our students, Anthony, who's Jamaican, says, hey, we're going to dinner tonight. Let's get some oxtail soup. And I was like, I can't go that far, but meet me at Miller's Ale House. That's usually where I go to. But next time I'll take you for Jamaica, and we'll love it, and I'll cook you some saltfish and ackee. But it was like that kind of community where we get together, where Alonzo's meeting with people and Chris gets to people. That's the family.
Yeah.
And it really doesn't.
Sorry, Mike, I didn't interrupt.
That's the family. And, you know, when I went to our conference, which, you know, Chris and Alonzo kind of forced me to do because I knew the amount of effort it was going to take. And with my body after the trauma, you know, traveling was pretty. And it took me well over an hour to get to the bathroom, which was 100 feet away from all the people I got to talk to along the way. That changed everything for me. Then I was like, oh my God, the family is it's even better than I thought it was.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, to show the degree that I almost want to use the word rely on the community to push people. Because we recognize that who better to push you along than your counterparts? You know, I made the comment earlier, nobody wants to listen to mom and dad. Nobody wants to listen to the teacher. But they'll listen to their colleagues calling them out, saying, hey, why weren't you in class today? Or, hey, why haven't you done what you said you were going to do? You know, we encourage that. We even to the degree that the assignments that we have in our program are submitted not to me, not to Mike, not to Alonzo, not to Leo, not to Chow, they're submitted to the group. Now, granted, someone from our team does provide the feedback, but they're submitted for everybody to see because everyone can benefit from what everybody does.
Let's talk about that other secret sauce there for a minute. Our courses are live, meaning you go there and you do things with people. I promise you can't figure out how to design an architecture yourself. You need somebody to teach you. I'm also going to promise you that you can't learn to practice medicine on your own, and you can't learn to fly an airplane on your own. You need somebody with you before the plane crashes until you figure out how to do it. Yeah. So we're live. Now, if you just watch videos and do nothing, you're not going to get ahead. You have to do projects, but they have to be a right project. Imagine an airplane pilot saying, ooh, I got to learn how to work as a flight attendant. I'm ready to fly the plane. They'd laugh at them. Well, do architecture projects, you got to do architecture. If you do engineering projects, you learn engineering, not architecture. And that's why.
And there's nothing wrong with that if your goal is to be an engineer.
It's great if you want to be an engineer. Yep. But, you know, the people that build buildings don't get hired to design the shopping mall or design the bridge or design a hotel. That's what an architect does. The construction crew does something else. Both skills are equally important. One's not less than the other. But in order to get hired, you have to have the skill for the job. So after we pointed out the people were being taught irrelevant skills, they added cloud projects in somebody else's job. which made the people look even further away from their goals. So we have people turn in assignments. How do you get feedback on it? We give feedback on it, because if you turn stuff in and you don't get feedback, you know what? You don't get better. And sure, we do crowd projects, but they are projects related to the job, not somebody else's. And of course, we give everybody an internship, and that's the big key, because nobody really wants to hire anybody without experience. So by the time somebody's done with us, they've had a job and they have experience on their resume. It's not like they're trying to put a little Git resume and plug on the resume, which no employer is going to go look at in the first place.
I like Anakin's comment over here. She says, I've had a few people call me out on keeping up with my assignments. I needed to hear it. See, that's the point. That's the point. And that's something that you don't get in most every other program. Is you're not going to get that.
No.
You're just not, because the culture, at the end of the day, we care.
Yeah.
Couldn't have said it better.
And that's the culture. And we care about you. And we try to foster a culture within our students and our clients that they care, not just about their success, but their colleagues' success. And that's something that I am happy that I am immensely happy that we foster that type of culture that apparently is out there pushing Anakin to do his assignments. I had you brought up Al earlier. Al Legister, he's working at Deloitte. Deloitte. He's working at Deloitte. I had a call with him, and I asked him, I was like, what is working? And he told me, he's like, we do these group calls outside of class, which is great. Like I'm glad. It's just like university. You got little clubs that are floating around on campus. Great. But he's like, it's probably a good thing that you or Alonzo or Mike aren't there, because we're a little rough on each other. And I'm like, okay, but the people that come to that works for them. If they're showing up and y'all are a little rough on each other, and he's like, yeah, I might not use the right language either. And I'm like, but it's working. It works. And that's like, so, apparently we've probably got like the Fight Club of GoCloud Careers over here. And then we got the Book Club of GoCloud Careers over here. And we probably got the Sailing Club over here.
We do.
But it works. And that's something. And I actually, never mind. We got a surprise coming for you guys. I haven't even told Mike and Alonzo about this. I gotta tell them before I tell y'all. So I'll tell y'all later. But we got a surprise that's going to take this to another level. It's going to be fun. It's going to be great. I'm sure everybody will enjoy it. But yeah, the community aspect. I'm so happy with the way that our community is. Yeah. It just blows me away.
It is. And, one of the things that makes us a little better is our technical capabilities. We have more tech, and the best tech that we use. We use 4K and 8K streaming cameras, the best video encoders you can buy. Audio engineers do our sound. I got a price from Amazon to host our systems, and they wanted $11,000 a month. I went and bought all the servers for $10,000, and we have a 10-server OpenStack cloud. They're exactly the same processes that AWS uses on iSeries. And by doing it ourselves, now don't get me wrong, if we had to buy the Cisco routers, switches, and firewalls to do it, it might be just as cheap to go to AWS. But look where I come from. Look at the kind of systems I have in my house. Look at my access to Cisco. So by using our own cloud and our own systems, we're so agile. We use artificial intelligence too, that with a small team, we can do 2 to 15 times the output of anybody else, keeping our costs down. It's all about what tech. So I don't buy tech for tech. Well, but businesses don't. But if we can use the tech to support the business, well, now you're talking about architecture.
All right. So, let's see. So Derek's comment over here says the live class interaction makes all the difference in your learning. You don't get that in any other program for this price. And that's true. We mentioned it earlier, like, and I don't want to beat our own chest, but we don't charge what we should.
No, we don't.
And we're perfectly okay with that.
Yeah,
we choose to do
absolutely.
That. For what we charge and for what someone gets access to. It blows my mind.
It doesn't. And Derek, my goal is to get you to move to Port St. Lucie, leave that Atlanta place, and be my neighbor, so we can barbecue together. Derek's one of our students. He's extraordinary in every way and a class act and super smart. Yep. That's my goal, Derek. We got to get you to Florida.
And Anakin Cloudwalker here, exactly. There's quite a few groups. It's easier to meet and join them if you participate in class or join the group projects or reach out to others. That last one is the one that I want to hone in on because, look, I get it. You might not be able to ever attend a live class. Maybe you have a standing meeting with your boss and they don't know that you're in this program. And that standing meeting is Tuesdays at 10 a.m., Thursdays at 4 p.m., and Fridays at 1 p.m. And you never attend a live class. That's fine. Great. Okay. We understand. But you can still reach out to people. There's a young person, a newer person to the program that made a post on our group work channel. Now, granted, they didn't use the @channel function or the @here function. So I used the @channel for them. They were looking for people to get a kind of a work group together, a study group, an accountability group of new people and veterans in the program. And as soon as I did the @channel function, the next thing you know, you got 36 people reaching out in response to that. Why? Because he put himself out there.
Yes.
Use the community. Use the community. You don't have to come to class. If you can't come to class, use the Slack. Use the Slack.
And then there's a question that I want to answer intentionally to show why we're different. But do you remember the time someone they thought they had a leak in their basement? And out of nowhere, people...
That happened on YouTube.
It happened on YouTube.
No. Nobody thought they had a leak in the basement. You misinterpreted a comment. We were talking about something, and somebody was so overjoyed that they were crying tears and feeling their basement is flooding from all the tears of joy. And you just saw the basement is flooding. The next thing you know, people are volunteering on Slack and on YouTube at the same time to go over to, I think they were in the DC area. You had people from Northern Virginia and Maryland and Alexandria and DC all volunteering to rush over. I think it was Kenya.
I think it was Kenya, yeah.
Was it Kenya's house? Kenya that said that she was flooding her basement with tears of joy, and all Mike saw was flooding the basement.
I think, and the students, as soon as they said flooding the basement, all were there. So, I actually want to address Abraham Ayali's question because I think it's beneficial and it's on topic.
Exactly.
The question. So Abraham, you've got a great question. How long will it take to complete the program if you spend 20 hours a week? Well, it depends. And here's why. And I want to be completely honest with you. I can read 1,000 pages every day and read all 1,000. Chris, can you read 1,000 pages in one day and remember it? Or can you read 200 pages or 500 pages? Where's your limit?
I wish I could say it was 200.
Okay. But the point is you've got Chris, who's equally educated as me. We both have MBAs. I can remember 1,000. Let's say he can remember 200. I could get through 5 times faster, even though I'm not smarter than Chris. I can tell you that right now. I have conversations with them, but it's the way that I can adapt and learn. I might also have a deeper background that enables me to learn it faster. Now, I'll tell you from experience, it takes 6 to 12 months for the average student under normal economic conditions to be hired as an cloud architect or solution architect. If the economy gets worse, it might take 16 months. If the economy gets better, it could take 5 months. But there's market factors that are going on. There's your factors, specifically how quickly you learn. And there's also the concept of what happens if something goes on in your house, something that's unplanned. But here's the thing, Abraham, I would tell you 6 to 12 months is pretty normal and pretty average, 20 hours a week. But if it takes you 2 years, you're still in our program. If you get done in 3 months and you're hired, it's a win. But we stick with you until you are hired. We are not a boot camp. We don't want to take your money and not care about you. We want you hired. So I'd say 6 to 12 months is average, but it's like a car. You can drive my car and my wife can drive my car, and I'll get better fuel economy on my diesel truck than she will. I'm I eat a baby a little easier than she does. She accelerates, starts, and stops a little faster. I get 33 miles a gallon on my Mercedes diesel. She gets 29. I'm not a better driver than her. She's not a better driver than me. It's just driving difference. Your mileage may vary, but 6 to 12 months on average. But you're with us until you are hired. As long as you don't quit, you should be hired.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and add in here that's too vague to be successful.
Yeah.
So, Abraham, we need to get more specific, whether we're talking about with our program or anything you do. 20 hours a week is too vague.
Yeah.
Anything a week is too vague. I would even argue X amount a day is too vague.
Yeah.
You need to have a specific time.
And bench and milestones.
Right.
And remember
9 a.m. Tuesday and Thursday mornings. 2 p.m. on Friday and Saturday. You need to, if you want to be successful, whatever it is you're preparing for, you need to be as specific as possible, because that will help. Then you can be accountable to yourself.
And then another thing, remember this, Abraham, is that no one, and I do mean no one's going to be able to remember all of this, okay? This is a journey. It's not a destination. So learn the fundamentals, learn the competencies, learn the foundations, get to a point where we know Abraham, he's at a certain point where he's ready to start interviewing. But once you get that job, you're going to continually learn. You're going to you're going to continually look at vendor documentation. You're going to continue to learn how it works, how it integrates with your current state. How is it going to be transitioning over to your future state if you're moving and converting and evolving this cloud architecture? You're going to continuously learn. So never assume that you're going to have a set amount of criteria to learn and that's it. I just want to make sure you understand that.
Yeah, and that's really key. And that's just straight, honest. I'd love to train you. I'd love to get you hired. I look forward to the day that you'd call me and say, Mike, I'm now a cloud architect working for XYZ organization. I'd love that. But whatever you do, wherever you train, understand that no one can say 16 weeks. And if they do, they can start with the theory of 16 weeks.
Right. It's about baseline.
As a baseline. But the other problem I have with boot camps is this. When you're in the action, you're getting better, better, and better. If you take a boot camp that's over its 16 weeks, and then it takes you another 18 months to develop the skills to get hired because they taught you all the wrong skills, and most people can't remember it that fast, you're getting worse while you're not there every single day, not better.
Yeah.
The programs have to let you stay in them until you are hired. Look, I took boot camps. I took a 5-day, $5,000 Microsoft Certified Systems Engineer boot camp a million years ago, an 10-day, $11,000 CCNP boot camp. Employers, they laughed at me. I mean, they laughed. One of them said, Mike, if I need you to take care of my sick employees, I'm interested. But you got a bunch of certs. I don't care about certs. I care about these skills. Big difference. It was a wide awakening because the $16,000 on those two boot camps was like 20 some years ago, like 25 years ago. And it's really worth about $40,000 in today's money just for those two, when adjusted for inflation.
So I got another short supercut from that I want to play, and then I want you guys to. I'm pretty sure you're going to have some talking points based off of this, but I want to share it with everybody. And this one is from Jermaine, and this one again is from our conference. And I also shared it. I shared a version of this in our class on Friday. And if you're in our program and you weren't at our class on Friday, and even if you were at our class on Friday, I encourage you, go watch the recording from Friday's class with Angelo. Angelo, who was a member of our program and is now working as an enterprise architect, he came and he was very open. He had a very open forum and open discussion with our students about his experience. And what's the word I'm looking for, Alonzo? How would you describe Friday's class?
I thought that it was honest. It was.
There we go. That's the word. Vulnerable. Vulnerable.
Yeah.
That's the word I'm looking for. Not in a bad way, but like if you're a student in the program and you haven't watched it, go watch it. If you're a student in the program and you were there, go watch it again. Anyway, I got sidetracked. I shared a longer version of this in class on Friday, but I wanted to share it here again. And I'm going to let Mike and Alonzo speak because I'm pretty sure they'll have some thoughts that come from this. But here we go. Let me do this. Let me get.
But if you chase the knowledge, the money is going to come looking for you. Please, guys, alleviate yourself from thinking that you have to know everything. Be confident in what it is that you do know, and we're getting to those questions and knocking those out the park and being like, the parts that you don't know, say, hey, listen, I haven't touched that yet, but I can be equally as good at those things if given the chance. If that's what this job entails, then I will become good at it. That's my answer. And they was like, okay, he knows what he knows what he doesn't know. So alleviate yourself of that burden of thinking, man, I have to know every service.
Chris? Okay. Yeah, I have a lot to say about that. And, I'm so glad both Jermaine took my guidance and was on his interviews. And here's the reality. It takes 10,000 hours on a small area to know one thing. I am one of the original CCIEs, the Cisco Certified Internet Expert. Back when it was a 2-day exam, it was much harder. You know what I've worked on in networking in 25 years? BGP, OSPF, and IP multicast. I never worked on wireless. I never worked on half of the technologies that are there because that was just one set of networking. Cisco had like 6 different CCIEs that focused on different areas of networking. They're so very different. And the key is, here's what I want when I hire someone. And of the thousands of hiring managers I've spoken to and the recruiters and HR people, here's what they say. Mike, I need someone that can do the job in front of them. I don't need them to know everything, but I need them to be able to do the job or come up to speed real quickly. I need someone I can trust. What Jermaine did just solved that. 96% of the people I have interviewed have lied to me. I can't hire somebody that lies to me. I'm not going to ask a question on an interview that I don't know the answer to. So the second someone makes a story up or bluffs or babbles, interview's over. Now, 20 years ago, I escorted somebody out of the room in 90 seconds. They lied to me on an interview and I walked them to the door. My manager said, but Mike, that interview lasted 3 minutes. I said, the person lied to me. I'm not going to listen to them. I got rid of them. I said, they were lucky I didn't call security. And they said, Mike, here's what I want you to do in the future. Be nice to them. Tell them, feed them some cookies and tell them you can't hire them because they don't have experience and they need experience. And he said, here's how we get rid of bad people. We say, I'm sorry you lack experience. That was his, I'm not going to hire you. So not that they couldn't hire you. So first, someone that can do the job and someone that can be trusted. Next, someone that can communicate well because they don't make errors, someone that can bring out the best in others, an energetic, enthusiastic, a passionate person, someone that's a great team player, someone that's willing to go above and beyond. That's what employers want. That's what hiring managers want. We know you can't know everything. Now, I've been watching the Vampire Diaries, and if you're one of the original vampires and you're 2,000 years old, yes, you will have time to learn everything. But unless you are a vampire, you're not going to learn everything. You can know what your skills are, know what you know, and know what you don't know, which is something else employers want. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. I've never hired anybody that knew everything. I've hired some people that didn't know how to do the job because their attitude, energy, enthusiasm, and honesty was so good. And I've hired lots of people that had similar skills that I could tune into the perfect skills. And just like Jermaine said, you don't have to know everything, but you need to know what you know what you don't know, and be honest with them.
And it's not that you don't have to know everything. You can't.
You can't know everything.
Everything.
It's not possible.
Let's focus on that. You talked about a lot of things. Let's just focus on the one thing. You can't know everything.
Right.
Nope.
You can't.
It's impossible.
Period.
It's also, it's kind of like zoology. What part of zoology when it comes to all these animals? And there's thousands of species. There's thousands of versions, thousands of locations, and there's more being discovered, more species being discovered every year. And it's much like technology. There's no way for you to learn it all. And now with the explosion of generative AI as of November of last year, that puts it on a whole new level. How are you going to keep up with that and maintain your roles and responsibilities as being a cloud architect? Because there's different versions of being cloud architects. So focus on something you're really good at, you're really passionate about, and let others focus on that part, which is why you all come together to solve solutions as a team.
Yeah, and even two people, you got Mark Milanovic in the chat box. I know Mark. I'd say he and I are equally good network architects, but what I know and what he knows are completely different things. He's more on the SD-WAN side. I'm more on the IP video side. Two network people, same background, same level of capabilities, completely different skill set. And that's okay. And that's okay. I love that he said that. So that's really the secret. The secret is getting all the package. Get it all. You can't get any good job on just tech skills enough. You can't. Not in today's world. And if you think you could, I got some great AI that can do just tech stuff for you. Doesn't need to be paid, doesn't ask for a raise, doesn't get sick, doesn't need paid time off. It can write a Terraform script. It can write a Python script. Any of that stuff. But it can't do what a professional does. It doesn't have wisdom. It doesn't have judgment. It doesn't have analysis. It doesn't have communication skills. It can't interact with others. It can't lead a team. It can't sell a solution. It can't find out requirements from stakeholders. Celebrate your humanity. That's your future anyway. It's your humanity.
All right. So I'm going to ask each of you if you got one more thing that you want to talk about about the way that we do the training that we do that might not have been discussed. And I'm going to start with Alonzo. Oh, actually, we'll start with Mike, then we'll go with Alonzo, and then I'll let Mike wrap it up for us today. So let me go with Mike here. And yeah.
So the first thing is that we're outcome focused. Outcome. Whenever you're going to design an architecture, you have to design the end goal. What's that architecture trying to achieve? We architect our cloud architects' careers. For us, the end goal is hired, or it's a promotion, or it's like one of our students who had a $151,000 job who just got a $409,000 job. It's the raise of $250,000 or $100,000 or $50,000 or whatever it is, because their mileage may vary. But the point is, that's our outcome. How do we change your life? I don't care whether you pass a certification or not. I care if you got a job. I care the impact that our organization makes on your life and the impact you make on our other students and our other family members. That's all I care about. Sure, we get you certified along the way, but anybody can do that. A certification is nothing. It's getting the job, getting paid more, getting promoted, getting a raise, and having the money to do things. When I got my first architect job, you know, it was so cool. We could send money to our family back in Greece. I could take care of my family. My wife wanted it for nothing. That was my why. It wasn't about numbers, so I could say I earned a ton of money. That didn't matter to me. How did it impact? And for me, the key is we get people hired. We change their lives. That is our valid of graduation. You may not be able to go to the bank with a certificate of it, like an AWS certificate, and there's AWS certificates are fine, or a Cisco certificate or a Google certificate and say, give me this $1 million house. But I promise you, you can take your $220,000 offer letter to the bank and get a house, buy a new car, or whatever you need to. Donate money to charity. Help others throughout the world. That's what I'm concerned about. How do we impact our students' lives? Not any arbitrary piece of paper. How about you guys?
Couldn't have said it better, Mike. I think one of the things that I really love about what we do is that, number one, it's more than just the tech. Number two, we talk about the relationships that need to be built to communicate these business transformative options for organizations, and we provide the business acumen, leadership, and associated facets to facilitate that. Not only do we have those steps in place for our students, but we also have the required experience needed to facilitate those steps and continue to pass that baton in a cyclic phases so that it's constantly learned over and over and over again. Now, one of the things that a lot of people reach out to me about, whether they're students or not, is how am I going to catch up? I can't. I got school, I got life, I got work, I got things to do. I can't make all of the classes. Don't worry about it. Number one, they're recorded, so you can refer back to them. Number two, not only do you have the current classes that you can review, you can refer back to our library of prior videos to support your learning experience. And number three, all of our classes are going to be teaching the same thing. Now, granted, the subject matter may be different. It may be a financial institution, it might be a health industry, it might be something. But overall, you're going to have an understanding of how we whiteboard all of this, the what, who, where, and why. How does it all come together? How is the networking going to come together? What's the difference between interior and exterior border gateway protocol? You're going to have those examples broken down for you in the simplest of terms. I know this because I've lived it, and I have a comparison because once I started on my cloud journey years ago, and all the cloud service providers had one thing that really frustrated me. There is no 0 point of entry. Everything that they share with you is from a cloud engineer's perspective. So how do you learn all this stuff if you don't have a prior technical background? We learned it here because we broke it down in real easy terms. And this was before you had the paid experience. You're going to have all this technology laid at your feet in a very simplistic format on YouTube and what we've already showcased for you. So that was the attractive piece for me. Right off the rip, I could understand this. I didn't understand it from AWS's point of view or any other cloud service provider. I understood it from what it was. Block storage is block storage. Object storage is object storage. What are the differences? When do you use them? When do you not? Which one is faster than the other? And how companies can use it to leverage their business. Boom, the pennies dropped for me. And I knew where I wanted to be, and that was GoCloud Careers. And I think I can say that for a lot of our students now, they feel the same way.
You know, it's funny you say that, Alonzo. There's one student I just spoke to. He got a master's degree training in DevOps. He also took a DevOps bootcamp. He has a PhD, so he's a highly educated guy. Goes on a job interview, and on the job interview, they said, we watched the GoCloud Careers free AWS training. Why don't you get some training for them? Then you'll really understand cloud computing.
Interesting.
And he's as good and smart of a guy as anybody could ever hope to know.
All right. I want to say something here real fast as well, and then I'll let Mike close it out. So we've been doing a lot of talking about our training and about our program and about what else is out there and why we're different and how we're different and all of these things. But there's one thing that we've completely not addressed, and that's our accessibility. I don't know anyone else that is out there completely unobstructed interacting with people for free 6 hours a week. I mean, we make ourselves available to all of you to hopefully make your path a little bit more clear. You know, tomorrow we're going to be here for 2 hours answering questions. Whatever questions you might have about cloud careers, cloud computing, cloud training, cloud architecture, cloud engineering. We'll be there to answer. We do this on Tuesdays for 2 hours. Now, granted, this one's more of a show, but if you had a question in there, when does the non-live class start? You can enroll in the non-live course right now. Azuka?
When does it start? A minute later, as soon as you've signed. It's not live, so you can do it anytime you want, and you stay in it till you're hired.
Yeah, so you can enroll in that right now. And you can also upgrade later on if you decide you want to upgrade to the live one. Just pay the difference. But yeah, so we're here today. Answer if you had a question, popped it in there, we answered it. Tomorrow, every Wednesday, 2 to 4, answering questions. Thursday, we do a webinar on Zoom answering questions. And they don't have to be questions about our training. We just want to answer your questions and help you make the determination that's right for you. Because at the end of the day, we just want you to get hired. I'm just as happy when somebody comes on a YouTube live and says, I never did your training, but I watched your YouTube interview preparation video playlist and I aced the interview. Thank you so much. I'm like, oh, great. They never spent $1 with us. I'm so happy they got hired. Yeah. Like, we get just as excited about that as we do when someone that's in our full-fledged paid program gets hired. And it happens. And you'll see us. We get all excited. But so that at the end of the day, that's what we're here for. So, and that's why we make ourselves available. I mean, we set aside those times specifically to be able to help as many people as we can. So I just wanted to make sure I spoke to that. And then I'm going to let Mike wrap it up for us here. But before Mike wraps it up, I do want to remind everybody that next week, we've got our free AWS Bootcamp. So make sure you register for that. It's completely for free. Completely for free. Please register. We want you to be able to have access to it. Take advantage of it.
And truth be told, what our competition teaches, we give away for free. Because we know what they teach is not going to be enough on their own. And we don't want you to ever waste your money on something that's not going to get you to your goals. So we do what they do free. And not only that, we're going to bring you in and help answer your questions live on Zoom after the sessions each day to make sure at least you grasp an understanding. Because I want to do better for you than our competition charges thousands of dollars, and we're going to do that free. If you take any of our paid courses, it is going to be a life-changing experience. I promise you. You will not be the same afterwards. You will have a greater education, greater relationships if you do the work. Incredible job if you do the work and follow the outcomes. It's our goal to help you, or at least I promise that we'll do everything we can to assist you because we care. So regardless of what you want, I want you to do the following. When you want a job, figure out the career that you absolutely want. Find an expert who's had that job and succeeded in this job. They're the only people that can get you, that can help you. Unless somebody's made it, and that means a principal architect or a distinguished architect, they can't help you because they don't know how to be successful themselves because they've never been successful. So start high. I was a principal architect for 20 some years. Okay. I mean, it's something I know how to do. But it did take me 2 years to become a principal architect, but I've been an architect now for over 25 years. So go out there and find what you need. Get somebody that's going to give you all the skills. If they're only teaching you tech, throw it away. It's garbage. They're not going to get hired. You have to have the tech skills, the professional development skills, the resume, the communication, the presentation, the sales, the interview, and the negotiation. Without that, you're just someone who took a tech boot camp and has to compete with people that have 20 years experience. I don't like those odds. Go out there and get all the skills for your job. I mean, and truly master your job. Don't waste your time on certifications from 5 different people's careers. Your job. Make sure you find a supportive community. Make sure wherever you go, people will answer your questions. I recommend live whenever possible over non-live because there's different to go do something with people than it is to watch it, but you got to do what you can, and we all have different budgets, so we do the best we can. But whatever you do, go after your dreams. Just do it. It all starts with a dream. And when you find your dream, write it down. Don't tell too many people because they're going to tell you all the reasons why you can't achieve it. I promise you. I mean, you can do it anyway. Find the best training you can. And quite frankly, I financed a lot of my education when I was younger because I was poor and I didn't want to be poor for the rest of my life. And I knew my only way out of poverty other than winning the lottery was my education. So believe me, I bought an education and I took it seriously. I worked hard, I studied hard, and I became the best I could be at whatever I did. And guess what? You can all do it too, no matter what you want. If you want to be a cloud architect, I would love to train you. I'd love to have you in our family. But whatever you do, whether you're our students, whether you want to train somewhere else, all I care is that you get hired. All I care is that you have a life that you love. Make sure the people that are training you are not newbies. Make sure that a couple of years ago they weren't struggling, because if they were struggling a couple of years ago, they don't even know what they don't know yet about the technology. Make sure they have been promoted and been successful. Go check the brand. If somebody worked at Cisco, what are the Cisco people going to say about them? Find out. If somebody says they know AWS, ask AWS what they say about them, the employees that work there. Ask them if they've ever worked with them. Ask them what their architectures look like. Ask what their clients say about them. Their actual clients. Then you'll be good to go. Just go after your dreams and let nothing or no one hold you back. Never. Never. Because people gave me a million reasons why I couldn't become a network engineer as my first job. They gave me every ridiculous thing that I had to start at help desk or network admin roles. My first job was a senior engineer. Within 6 months, I was the lead architect. And 9 months later, I was a senior lead network architect on Wall Street, designing the highest volume training system in the entire world at the time. You can do it too. Go out there and get trained. I'd love to train you, but whatever you do, take it seriously. Get the best training you possibly can, because education changes your life. You need the right education. Want to be a doctor? You got to go to medical school, because if you make mistakes on people along the way, it's not good. Want to fly an airplane? Don't try to do it yourself, because if you do, the plane's going to crash. I don't like that idea. I care about you. If you want any bigger career, get somebody to help you get there. Better, faster, and cheaper. Chris, Alonzo, over to you guys.
Well, no, you were the end, Mike.
Yeah.
Everybody enjoy the rest of your day. Get our How to Get Your Completely Free Cloud Architect Job Guide. The link is up in the description of these videos. Go out there and register for the free AWS certification training. It's out there. It's going to be free. It's going to be live. We're going to have all kinds of fun. It's going to be like a party. And join us on Thursday. How to Get Your First Cloud Architect Job webinar. It's live and free too. Take care, everyone.
Bye, everybody. Thank you for joining us today.